Hi everyone, I have been inundated with people wanting to know what I used on my skin in this video because the comment section are just flooded with people saying that my skin looked luminous and just really fresh and beautiful, the best I've ever seen your skin look, your eyes look absolutely amazing, please show us how you created this eye look in another video. So here I am, I'm going to do that for you today. So overwhelmed by all of your kind comments in quite a few videos recently when I've been doing this particular eye look and using this product on my skin. So we're going to get straight on with it. If you are new here, hi, my name's Gemma. I upload new content on YouTube every single week, and if you like what you're watching, I would be so grateful if you would consider clicking on the like button, the subscribe button, and click on that notification bell so you don't miss any future content. So I actually created a very similar eye look in a previous video, but I do know that either a lot of you didn't watch that video or you can't find that video as reference. So I'm just going to do it again for you all. Apologies if you have seen this already and you're finding it a little dull. I still hope you will stick around to the end because I have switched quite a few of the products out to be exactly the same products as I was wearing in the video where I received all those beautiful comments, and it really does mean the world to me. I have the best subscribers in the entire world, hands down. In order to streamline this video somewhat, I have already done my brows off camera. If you are wanting to know what products I used and how I applied them, I've done a standalone video with my updated brow routine. I'll link that up here and also at the end of this video. So this has been my super quick go-to makeup routine for an everyday basis for the last few weeks now already. And I actually bought the Natasha Denona Yucca palette. It's unopened. I've just not wanted to use it because I'm just so comfortable in the way that this makeup looks, and I know that it makes me look more awake and more refreshed and just more youthful in general. I've not even bothered. I think I've had this for a good couple of weeks now already, and it's, yeah. Haven't even swatched them. If you do want to see a full-blown review on the Yucca palette, do let me know in the comment section and I will eventually get on with that. I need a kick up the bum. So taking my NARS Soft Matte Concealer, covering up any imperfections which are going slowly. Skin getting better, even though the stress levels still quite elevated, not gonna lie. So I'm gonna reach for my Huda Beauty Faux Filter Corrector. This stuff is perfection. I ordered this in a couple of shades thinking one would be okay, one would probably not be okay for me. Actually, they are both completely passable for me. I am so thrilled. They are just beautiful. If you like the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer, I pretty much guarantee, I mean, there is no guarantee with makeup. Some people are going to like it, some people aren't, but it's the same formula. It's highly pigmented. It's very easy to blend. It just, oh, it's just gorgeous. So I have two shades. I've got Pink Pomelo and I've also got Peach. I'll show you those on the screen now, but I am going to use Pink Pomelo today. I just think it's slightly more subtle and I can get away with this and just walk out the door without putting concealer over the top of it. Granted, I can't apply a lot of this. The amount that I'm actually going to apply today is more than I would do if I wasn't covering it over with concealer, but absolutely love this stuff. It is so effective. So I'm just popping that on the areas of darkness and just tapping that into the skin. Going round into the inner corner of the eye where I do have quite a bit of darkness, and also transferring some to the outer portion of the eye as well. If you do have skin slightly deeper than mine, Peach will be pretty much perfection for you, but they do other shades as well. So I've gone for the two fairest shades, obviously, but there are shades that should suit every skin tone. It's just divine. It really is super effective and very easy to use. Skin perfecting. Oh yes. What dark circles. Then I use my Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Shaping Stick. This is in the shade Light Medium. I adore this. Again, had this for months, use it on a daily basis. Look how much is left. I'm just really impressed by the amount of product that you actually get in here. The trick is to get the right shade. So this is definitely the right shade for me. I can apply this under or over makeup and it doesn't look muddy. But I do know a couple of people have approached me and said, you know, I just really can't get on with it. It makes my skin look really muddy. Probably don't have the correct shade, or you're applying it slightly too densely, just slightly over applying it. I can apply so much of this though, and I just love it. Absolutely love it. For my base, I'm going to be applying the Guerlain Terracotta Latan Foundation. This is in the shade 0N. I am a little bit upset with the shade range because it looks quite vast, but I am the fairest of the shades that they do. So if you do have a skin tone that is fairer than mine, you are going to be out of luck. And it's such a shame because this foundation, I have done a full-blown review on this with a 10-hour wear test. If you haven't seen that already, I'll link it up here for you, because this is very quickly becoming my favourite foundation. This airbrushes my pores, it just gives a soft focus effect on my skin, and yet it isn't flat, it gives life, it's a very natural finish, and yet it gives coverage. It's just absolutely beautiful. So gonna go in with one pump right at the very beginning, and then I'm probably going to use another quarter of a pump just to blend out all of these areas. I will link all the products that I'm using in the description box for you for quick access. I'm going to be using my REPHR 35 brush for the in-between areas, those areas that are slightly difficult to get to, and because I've done my brows first, this just makes sure that I don't go over my brows and ruin my brow look with any of the foundation. So I'm just going to dab that on around my brows, and then in between my brows, around my nose, and any other hard to reach, more delicate areas like my eyelids. So it's sort of a paint by numbers, this. Have to have a little bit of patience. If I was in a rush, there's no way that I would be faffing around like this. I'd just take my ZOEVA 104 buffing brush and go straight in, but I have time and I do enjoy the process. On that note, I'll take my 104 buffing brush from ZOEVA, put a tiny bit on my brush and just go over those larger areas before I buff out all the contour. And I still have quite a bit of foundation left on the back of my hand to use before I go in for any more. I may not need any more today. I'm going to use what I've got left to blend out this contour. The reason I love the Makeup by Mario shaping stick so much is because it stays workable for an incredibly long amount of time. So this has been on my skin now for a good 5 minutes and it's still very, very easy to blend. It hasn't stuck in any of my dryness. I just love that about this product. It's so beginner friendly. Look how beautiful and glowy my skin looks. It's glowy and yet it's airbrushed. Everything is slightly more diffused. It's just phenomenal. The coverage is amazing and it's transfer resistant. I do have a little bit of melasma poking through on my forehead. I am not going to try and cover that over, although I could do with this foundation. I'm going to leave it alone. I know my red light therapy will do its business, as well as some other skincare products thrown into the mix as well will eventually dim that down a little bit until it's non-existent. I'm okay with that. I'm not going to build this up anymore, although I could do if I wanted to. I didn't in that video, so I'm going to leave it here. But just to show you how amazing this pump is, and it is such a beautiful, beautiful product, but also the pump is phenomenal. If you're wanting a little bit extra, you don't need to add a full pump. You can add a quarter of a pump, you can add half of a pump, you can add the tiniest amount imaginable on the back of your hand so that you do not waste any product. Just with a light touch, you can have the smallest amount or the largest amount of product, which I think is great because it is quite a pricey product, so you don't want to have to waste. If you're wanting to use a pump and a tiny bit, you can with this. You don't have to squeeze lots out onto the back of your hand and then waste lots. I'll just blend out any creasing of the foundation on the eyelids just to make sure that it is perfect. Then taking my NARS Soft Matte Powder in the shade Cliff. And I'm just going to dust that on the eyelids to set the foundation on the eyelid in place. Try not to get that anywhere else because I haven't applied any concealer underneath my eyes yet. I want to do my eye look first and then really clean it up and make it look much crisper and more lifted with the use of the concealer. And this is the step that a lot of people were interested in. This is the Charlotte Tilbury The Super Nudes Easy Eye Palette. It is hands down my favourite palette of the moment. So versatile, so neutral and natural, and yet applying it the way that I do just gives a really lovely lifted effect to the eye. I'm hardly going to apply any, which was not my usual start. For eyeshadow, I liked to pack it on and blend it out, and it used to take ages. This, 2 minutes. It's all you need. So firstly, taking my Angie Hot and Flashy A504 brush, going into this taupey shade, loading the brush, tapping off the excess, and then following the tip of the brow as a guide, just going to add a little bit to that outer corner as if I was going all the way up to the tip of the brow, closing my eye, making sure there are no gaps in that, and then just joining it across. Then taking a really nice fluffy brush, this is from BK Beauty and it's the 201 brush, and I'm just going to go over those edges and just smooth anything out. You don't need to make circular movements if you don't want to. Windscreen wiper movements is absolutely fine, but hardly any pressure is needed at all because there's not very much pigment on the actual lid space at all. Very little product. Then I'm going to take this almost cream shade, take it on my finger, press it on the lid. You'll hardly be able to see any of this, but it just helps to diffuse the shade on the outer portion of the eye into the lid space. It also brightens up that lid space as well. Just think it's really effective even though it's very, very subtle. This is my favourite brush that REPHR do. This is the REPHR 29 brush and it is so versatile, this brush. You can use it for so many different things, but I like to use it as a liner brush because instead of swiping liner on the lid, which a lot of people don't cope with well because it just goes a bit messy, you can stamp this on, so you do not need a steady hand. So easy. So I'm taking this deep brown shade and I'm starting on the outer portion, so with it angled from the outer corner of the eye up towards the brow bone, using that brow as a guide. I'm just going to stamp this on, literally just like that, and then use that again to take the wing as high as I want it, and that's about it for me. Then with the excess on the brush, I'm literally going to stamp this into that upper lash line to thicken out those lashes, and then take a bit more on my brush and wing it out slightly. So I'm just going a bit further away from the lash line just to thicken off that outer portion. So if you don't have a steady hand, again, this is where this look comes into its own because we're not leaving it like this. We're going to take the REPHR 03 brush, which is just a nice little pencil brush, going back into this taupey shade, really lathering that up. Just take off any excess, and then we're going all the way across and just softening that off and just smudging it out a little bit. So you don't need to be precise because you're going to smudge it out anyway. And this just softens everything off and makes it look more natural. For me anyway, I just think it looks so pretty. Now, if you've taken that wing a little bit too high, which I do all the time, I do get a little bit overexcited when I'm doing the wing portion of the liner, you can just tap your fingers over the area and just diffuse a little bit. This is really great if you're still thinking that the look looks a little bit harsh on your eyes. If it's just a little bit too aggressive, just tap, 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 and it will soften everything off a little bit. Then we're going to move on to concealer, which will really make this look shine. So I've just completed the concealer underneath this eye, looked up and realised that my camera had stopped because my memory card was full. Don't! Anyway, it is what it is. That is my cue to stop waffling already and get on with it. I have now emptied the memory card and we can carry on. The concealer that I'm using today is the LANCôME All Over Concealer. I swear by this, spoken about it so many times on my channel. The only thing it doesn't do is give a full coverage. You can layer this up, but I don't think it performs as well properly layered up to full coverage. So if I do want full coverage out of this, I tend to mix in a little bit of my faux filter concealer from Huda Beauty in the shade 2.7N Coconut Flakes. Love, love, love this combination, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to use the LANCôME on its own because as far as I'm concerned, the faux filter corrector has done the job of both of these combined, completely got rid of my under eye circle, so I'm just going to cover it over with something more of a medium coverage and use the LANCôME All Over Concealer. Pop that on, take off the excess and just dab that in. This is such a good concealer, it seriously is. And because it's so movable, a little bit like spandex, it's very stretchy. This doesn't crease on me at all. Just love it. So I'm not going to go right up to underneath that lash line. I think that can look a little bit too harsh sometimes. So I'm just going to leave that area blank. And I am going to take a little bit of the Charlotte Tilbury Super Nudes palette underneath there anyway, just to soften it off a little bit. So I'm just going over the areas of darkness and then feathering out the edges with my finger. Before I powder that in place, I am going to take a little bit of the Huda Beauty concealer in the shade 1.3G, which is Marshmallow, and I'm going to carve out the corner of my eye and that wing, and it just makes it really crisp and much more lifted. If you add a lighter shade on that outer corner, it really gives you that sculpted, lifted effect. So I'm using the BK Beauty 209 brush, which is really lovely and dense. And I'm just going to tap that on in a line and then blending that out. Just going to leave that there for a minute to start to dry down before I blend that properly out with my fingers. You can see just the sculpted effect that that has even without it being blended. Once it's been blended out, we'll not notice it. It will just look like it's supposed to be there. It's a very, very natural look. This will also clean up any of the excess eyeshadow, so if you have been a little bit heavy-handed or if you haven't been very precise, like I said earlier on, you don't need to be precise, you can be quite messy. This will clean up all of that. So once that's dried down a little bit, again, taking my finger and just tapping out that edge, just to soften it off a little bit. We don't want anything too harsh. I'm just going back to my REPHR 03 brush, again dipping into the taupey shade and dusting that just on that outer edge underneath that lower lash line, just to carry that on a little bit. Just helps to complete the look and makes it look more seamless. Not going to take it all the way into that inner corner because that look isn't really for me. It looks a bit too dramatic for the look that I'm trying to create today, but more of an evening look. If you want to take it right into that inner corner, it looks really, really beautiful. Taking my Makeup by Mario brightening pencil and popping that in the lower waterline just to make my eyes look even wider, more awake. And it takes any hint of redness that you've got in that lower waterline completely away, which is what I use it for. Sometimes my eyes look a little bit bloodshot, but with this, just counteracts that completely and just makes me look more awake. Curl my lashes. And then give my lashes a lick of waterproof mascara. Generally when I'm filming, I use waterproof mascara just to make sure that the heat in the room doesn't make my mascara bleed or smudge all over the eye look that I created beforehand, because that's just not very good. So this is one of my favourite waterproof mascaras. I absolutely love it and it's incredibly effective, and I've just got some on my eyelid there, which I will clean up in a second. The trick, if you do make a mistake, is to leave it there, let it harden, and then you can take it off with a Q-tip or maybe even your fingernail if you want to, but make sure it's completely dried down before you try and take it off, otherwise you're just going to smear it absolutely everywhere. On the second coat of mascara, which I don't think I actually need, but I do know I put 2 coats of mascara on for the video that everyone was commenting on, I'm going to really concentrate on those outer lashes to exaggerate that lengthened cat eye look to the corner of the eye, and just make those lashes a little thicker and look a little bit longer, really pulling them to the side. And then before I put a little bit of mascara on those lower lashes, I'm just going to set my concealer underneath my eyes in place. I've left that plenty of time to completely dry down before risking putting any powder over the top. So taking a little bit of my Pat McGrath blurring under eye powder and just really pushing that into the skin using a powder puff. I always make sure I tap off any excess product on the back of my hand before I go in underneath my eye. Don't want to be applying too much of this, otherwise it's just going to look like I have more wrinkles underneath my eyes. It does soften over time, but I'd rather not apply too much in the first place anyway, to avoid that issue. And then picking my MAC Stack waterproof mascara back up and just tapping a little bit on those lower lashes. Don't like to go overboard with the lower lashes, but a little bit goes a long way for me. Then clean up job, I'm going to take that Q-tip and I'm just going to tap that and swipe over that mascara that I'd messed up on, and it just disappears immediately. No rubbing, no cleanser needed, just flicks off. After being introduced to the Victoria Beckham contour styluses, I am obsessed. So I tend to contour my nose because it's such an easier process with these because you can be so precise. So I just like to contour slightly. My nose is seriously crooked, so any help that I can get to make it at least look a little bit straighter, the better. So I'm going to give it a good go. I don't worry about applying too much of this, although it is rather pricey for the amount of product that you actually get. I just think it blends out so easily. You can apply a whole bucket full and it doesn't really matter. You can easily clean up. Then I'm going to pick back up the brush that I started using with my foundation, the REPHR 35 brush, and I'm just going to drag that down. Just blend that out slightly. So easy to do. You can even do this with your fingers if you want to, but you know, I don't like getting my fingers messy. So effective, it really is. You can slim your nose off if you've got quite a wide bridge nose and you don't like the look. You can make your nose look a little bit straighter like I'm doing here. You can shave off a little bit of the sides if you've got quite a large end point of your nose like I do. Just going to line my lips using the Victoria Beckham Lip Definer in the shade 2. This is so creamy. Really shouldn't talk whilst applying lip liner. Then I'm going to soften the lip liner with a finger and just tap that over the edges just to soften that off and blend it into the lip body. This lip gloss is probably the most expensive lip gloss I have ever purchased in my entire life, but it is my ultimate favourite. I adore it, use it all the time, and it hardly looks like any is gone at all. This is the Tom Ford, I think it's the Sunlust lip gloss. I have no idea if this is even still available. It's that old, but like I said, it's just divine. Look at this. It's just the right amount of sparkle. It just gives you summer vibes, that peachy tone that comes through. You can apply this as a lip topper. You can apply this on its own completely. It's just stunning. Really, really beautiful. And like I said, has that peachy tone to it. So if you're not into peachy, summery, warm vibes on your lips, you're probably not going to like this. But I just, oh, I love it. I love it. I'm going to pull this look together using a little bit of blush, or possibly a lot of blush. This is from Charlotte Tilbury, and it's the Pillow Talk Matte Beauty Blush Wand in the shade Pillow Talk. Already done one side already. Just going to squeeze the tiniest bit out, just to make sure that the applicator, the little sponge dot on the end, is wet. And then I'm just going to put one dot, and I'm putting it slightly below the cheekbone in the center. I've been doing this a lot more recently, and I just think it looks slightly more natural. So I'm going to take that section and just start dotting that and moving in circular motions around and blurring that out, going slightly further up the cheek and then on the other end as well. You can always apply a little bit more if you want to, but I just think this gives such a soft, subtle, just beautiful look to the cheek, and looks incredibly natural, because instead of just being up here or right down here, it starts in the center where I would usually start to flush and then diffuses outwards. I love it. Really, really beautiful. And even though it's a matte product, or it says it's a matte product, I mean, if you've heard me talk about this before, you will know my opinions on that. I don't think it's a matte product. I do think it lets the skin shine through from within. It's not flat. I don't think it's at all matte, actually, but it's so, so beautiful. I am going to finish off this look with a dusting of the soft matte powder from NARS in the shade Cliff. I'm going to take quite a large brush, dust this quite a lot in the powder, but knock off the excess. This is the BK Beauty 103 brush, and I'm just going to dab this in the areas that I could use a little bit of powder. It just gets rid of any pores that have crept back since popping the foundation on my skin. It's just immense, this powder. It's so, so good. So that is it. I hope you've enjoyed watching this as much as I've enjoyed recreating this look for you. Once again, thank you for all of your kind words and comments, both on Instagram, in my DMs, and also in the previous videos gone by. It is my job to switch things up and try out new products. And yeah, I've been slacking slightly because I've not wanted to try anything new. I've just wanted to keep on wearing this makeup look time and time again, because as well as it being one of your favorites, it's also one of mine, and I love it so much. So I'm so glad to hear that you feel the same way about it as well. Hope you found this video super, super helpful. Please recreate this look in your own homes and let me know how you get on. I am going to be filming June favorites in the next couple of days, and there are lots of products that feature in that video that I have never mentioned on my channel before. I've been trying them off camera camera and loving them, so definitely stay tuned for that. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.